Okay, so today marks exactly 1,000 days since the referendum on whether or not we stay in the European Union. Everyone knows what the results were. And that 29th of March date is now just 9 days away. I say date because I don't think anyone really knows what's going to happen. I don't think we're going to leave on that day. In fact, the latest development is Donald Tusk has said that the EU is willing to go for a short term extension leading up to June the 30th, which I understand is the date that Theresa May was also looking at to sort of give her more grace, so to speak. I think there is stubbornness from the Prime Minister, but also from hardcore Brexiteers. And it's like, I think John Rentoul put it well, the hardcore Brexiteers would rather stay in the EU a bit longer in order to have a pure Brexit, even though they're furious about the delays, rather than going with May's deal, which would be a compromise. May's deal is not staying in the EU. They insist that staying in the EU, but everything but name. If that's the case, then why are Remain people not endorsing it? Um, I was sympathetic with the Prime Minister to an extent because the whole world was against her, and I thought she was trying her best in difficult circumstances. But she's now trying to push, a deal that's been rejected twice for a third time. Berko rejected that yesterday, and now the Leavers are calling him a traitor. I don't think they really know what they want, so he's a traitor for blocking a third motion to get May's deal through, a deal that the hard Leavers reject. I don't think they really know what they want, unless it's doing two fingers to the EU and a hard Brexit. But I want to focus specifically on something here, which is all too common. Now, I've been very careful about not generalizing. Whenever I make videos about this, and I generally try to avoid it because I'm tired of it, to be quite honest. But when I make videos about Brexit, I always put the caveat I know all Leave people aren't this, I know all Leave people aren't that. I think it's well known by now, if you've been on my channel for a while, you'll know I voted Remain. But I'm not a Europhile, right? I'm not driven to get out of bed every day and fly the European Union flag and demand that we stay in. I'm not that sort of Remainer, and I'm not sure if the adjective's even right. I don't consider myself a Remainer in the sense that I'm not actively campaigning to remain in the EU. However, I am fed up with the arrogance of hardline Brexiteers who are incapable of any sort of introspection. Now, I'm going to point out a few things which I think demonstrates a growing extremism, quite frankly. I don't know any other way to put it. I came across this, I don't know if you call it a meme, it's like a statement, sort of in a background, black and red background. Not sure if that's the same as a meme, but some will say this is just banter, don't read too much into it. But I think there are genuinely a lot of Brexiteers who have this mentality. And this is what it says. Only the British government can botch up a simple walk away from EU. The people, this is in red letters, the people, all 17.4 million, need to hit the streets and riot. So this incitement to violence, which is basically what it is, I think is the mentality that a lot of Leave people are now endorsing, and certainly not everyone. I mean, 17.4 million people are not going to go out and riot. But there are hardcore Leavers now talking about this motorway protest. Apparently, it's about slowing down the traffic. This is insanity. I mean, who is that going to help? Who is that going to help? It's going to cause a lot of frustration and misery for travellers. Bringing our motorway system to a gridlock is going to cost the economy. How the hell is that taking back control? How does that hurt anybody except ourselves? It certainly isn't hurting the European Union. And it's this stubborn lack of self-awareness. It's this Brexit no matter what mentality that these people have. I find utterly pathetic. And then they have the gall to turn around and blame the Remain side for it. So you're threatening to bring the country to a gridlock. That's somehow the fault of Remainers? Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. And I always make that caveat, it's not all levers, and it isn't. Of course it isn't. But I do want to see more reasonable levers rein in on this sort of extremism. And someone responded. Of course, I responded to this post because it was on a political forum, and someone said, "Oh, it's just civil disobedience." No, it isn't. Civil disobedience would be not paying for transport fares, sit-down protests, and so on. And I think even that is a bit reckless. But rioting is not civil disobedience. Rioting is rioting. And what does rioting involve? It involves throwing Molotov cocktails at police. It involves burning people's cars. It involves smashing up businesses. And the funny thing is, that's usually associated with far left, like black bloc anarchists and so on, or occasionally far right neo Nazi groups, or occasionally Islamist youths. So if the Leave side really want to be associated with this, then they need to start calling, reining in on the extremists within their midst. I can honestly say, yes, there's been extremes on both sides, and I know I'm going to get accused of bias for this, but I can honestly say, when I really, really reflect on this, most of the extremism I have seen has come from the Leave side. The worst I've seen from the Remain side is some name calling, like calling people racists and so on, which is wrong. You shouldn't throw those words around, but that is the worst I've seen. I can honestly say I haven't seen any violence from the Remain side. I'm not saying it isn't there, but if someone shows me an example of that, I will condemn it without caveat. But here we have, and this isn't just an isolated thing. I could dismiss this if it was just a one-off, but the number of Leave people, Brexiteers who are endorsing those sentiments, they're not saying, "Oh, I voted Leave," but that's nonsense. They're endorsing it. There is a growing extremism with the Leave side, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of them blaming Remainers for everything, for all the discontent they feel. And I get it. I know that they're frustrated about the delays. But, I mean, that first part, only the British government can botch up a simple walk away from the EU. A simple walk away. It shows incredible. I mean, that's dangerous when you have such naivety combined with a propensity for violence. A simple walk away from the EU, as if renegotiating with 27 member states is a simple process, as if anything about this is simple. I mean, at least give the Prime Minister that. The idea that it's simple, is that really the mentality of the Leave side? This is going to sound strange, but I sometimes want a clean break. I sometimes want a hard Brexit just so we can have some clarity. I hate the uncertainty of this. I think that's what bothers a lot of people, the uncertainty. I certainly don't want a no deal Brexit, but in some ways, if we got it, then it would stop the Leave side constantly blaming everyone else for this mess. If we got a no deal Brexit happen tomorrow, let's say, then they could no longer blame the EU. They could no longer blame Remainers. And for once, just once, they would have to stop being so childish with their stupid little memes and their stupid um, lack of any sort of humility. I know that there are Remainers who give that side a bad image. I mean, when they denigrate their own country and they wave EU flags, I say to those people, "You're looking like idiots." Doesn't help anyone. But I'm sick and tired of the extremism of Brexiteers, and I'm sick and tired of them thinking that they have a monopoly on anger. I feel angry about this. I feel angry about the mess that we are in, which I feel was totally unnecessary if the result had had a different way. But I don't go out, threatening to riot because I'm not getting my way. These people need to be held responsible for their own words. If there is unrest, the sort of people who are posting this crap need to be held responsible for it.